Alright, everybody, welcome back to DGG number 5. The place of false starts and me forgetting to unmute my mic. And as we can see here, we have quite the racial distribution graph immediately popping out on this page. We have a ton of Vitruvian everywhere, as it turns out. And we've got 4 matches to go through today. Alright, and we'll be taking it from the top. We didn't get the matchup between the two people with the single list and 2 decks, but if they both win their match, then that'll be the next match. So again, at the bottom, we've got people fighting for their lives essentially, as they'll be eliminated if they lose that series. And in the top, if any of these 4 drop their game, then it's just down to lower bracket. And let's start with yours truly from the top. It is Agent Cypher 19, the 3rd place champion of all 3rd place champions to have gotten 3rd place every time so far, the last 4 times. No one's topping that. And myself. We'll see if I can interrupt this 3rd place streak. And again, I'm running with the default decks, so y'all can just jump into these decks if you want. I'll see if I can trash the 3rd place champion with it. Going into game number 1, it is Xerix or Shaddai versus Lilith or Argeon. And we'll be seeing a bunch of these lists because we have to win with both of the lists to advance. And with that said, let's jump into game number 1. Oh, we are not starting soon. We're in it. Agent Cypher 19 as Xerix. He's here first. We didn't actually talk about the lists at all, so we can see that this list has 3x Cataclysmic Fault. So watch out for that late game. And this is probably the best minion on 2 for turn 1, especially player 1. But even player 2 loves this thing immediately. We've got Metallurgy known for that discount. The other options weren't anything because you don't want your Azure Herald early, so it just replaces that and passes. Has a bunch of Scion's First Wishes, a bunch of Alchemists. The Alchemist, in fact, does have 2 heads. One of them has a hood, and the other one is just kind of out in the open, but you might not notice it. Could just be a really elaborate pauldron, but you'd have to look at some of the other animations to really see it. So I'm doing the diagonal move to threaten this thing, but Agent Cypher's got the buff to keep it alive even through a Silverguard Knight attack, which exposes my Mana Spring in front of me for him to just take it. Opt for a BTA. Could have dropped a Obelisk there, but doesn't want to just put that right in the face. Clears my Knight and has a couple things left over. We can see my hand at the top of the screen here though, and I've got the Tempest, so I can clear these 1 health minions pretty easily. Can't deal with this Obelisk though. It's not right now. And I could potentially save the Tempest. I replaced the Blood Tier, so I'm not going to use it to ping. Would be the other line. It's unfortunate to replace a Blood Tier Alchemist and find the Holy Immolation, because those 2 cards go really good together. Tempest simplifies the board, and I'm going to go for this Fireblaze Obelisk. Agent Cypher finds that Cataclysmic Fault. And casting Scion's First Wish on the Obelisk just to keep it out of Argion's slashing range. So it'll take me an extra hit. Next turn, Agent Cypher's probably just going to drop a Sand Swirl Reader on anything that I try to stick. If I had the Blood Tier, I can drop it and then immediately Holy Ammo. I replace and I don't find it. Got a Trinity Oath instead. My only minions are the cat and the Latigris, which makes cats. So I go for playing the best minion that I had. And I actually lost the RNG here. I had a 3 in 4 chance of this cub spawning somewhere where it could immediately kill this obelisk. But I got the bad spawn, and now I just have this 2-1 cat. That just looks cute. Immediate Sand Swirl for Latigris. Don't mind it too much, because I at least got the cub. The Sand Swirl is going to be annoying. I need to basically get as far away from that as I can. So I'm going to make some attempt to double spell, no doubt. We can finally put together a Holy Immolation turn. Some consideration for getting Latigris down again. Replacing and finding a Lightbender is actually really nice, because in this matchup it just turns off so much. Like these Guardians, these tiles. I'm just going to camp on this tile, because there's no way I'm just going to run out from this. And I'm out of range of the Portal Guardian, so I figure I had a free turn of just chilling here. Tigra's pretty nasty once she starts getting roars. So Agent Cypher gonna happily drop another Sand Swirl Reader. Definitely sets me way back. And now I'm the person with a full grip of cards in hand and on the back foot. Next turn is going to be pretty gnarly, where we get Cataclysmic Fault plus an Alchemist to immediately trigger it. So I don't exactly have the time to just keep cowering in the corner. could spend all the mana with a 4 mana play plus the Sentinel. It seems to be the best line. Usually you want to spend all your mana. Other option is the Azurite line, and then we can immediately roar it, but that doesn't do a whole lot. This Lightbender is the obvious best play, because it takes out the Portal Guardian. It's a nice blocker, takes out a Sandtile. And yeah, I'll just camp the other Sandtile. So maybe I can stabilize from here, start healing up and drawing some cards. I threw away my Trinity Oath. I'm gonna have to find that one again. Fortunately for me, this Dream Shaper has no hits. So Agent Cypher can't just draw cards. And instead of fading away to the opposite side of the map, Agent Cypher's coming in, looking for the kill. So each Tempest I draw buys me a turn. I don't necessarily need to do it this turn, because none of it's in range. But doing it this turn will let me push damage easier. So let's clear all that, and leftover mana for a Provoke. So Agent Cypher's stuck in place. Other option is... Nah, it's definitely Provoke. You don't want your enemy Vitruvian crossing this line. You won't be seeing them through that sand. And powering up this cat for good measure. Replacing and finding a Blood of Error. Well played. So this can take out my Mega Death Cat, or it can take out this Provoke threat. And then has the option for drawing a ton of cards. But that would be all mana. So usually you want to draw cards first, because then you can size up your options. Maybe something better than Blood of Air shows up. This does prevent the 2-step to the left, though, because of the spawn. Places and find some tiny stuff. Using the Blood of Air on the highest damage target, because that line was about to do 8 damage. And I am all holy immolations left in my hand. Which is just 8 damage, plus what I've got on the board. That's lethal. Yeah, gotcha. I think the misplay there from Agent Cypher was taking the steps to the right. I think if he hung around, even one step more to the left, may have been in a better spot. Yeah, let's take a glimpse at these decks again while I grab the next replay. I'm going to be facing against, well, I don't know which of the two decks, of course, and I'm going to be bringing out the Lilith, because Argion's cleared the challenge and won't be seeing any more of that. So you can't rely on one strong deck when you're in here. You've got to have 2 strong options, and I'm most familiar with these 2 builds, I think, in terms of what wasn't banned. Well, let's go into game number 2 of the first game of the night. Me versus Agent Cypher 19. Game number 2, I am up 1. Just need to close it out with Lilith, and we're running home free. I'm running Swarmy Swarm, as you can see, and Agent Cypher has the 5th Kopiuyt to shut down my BBS. But this style is a little less reliant on it compared to the Variax deck I was running last tournament. So even if that does drop, I'll be able to play a couple cards. We've got the Fading Opener, threatening the mana tile I can't grab easily. Generally with this Gloom Chaser or another unit that spawns instant minion, you want to put it in front of you as player 1. That way you can do this. 6 mana turn. So that could be Lady Lock, everything gets +1 in Provoke. And 2 of these and 1 of this, or Biggie. I go for the spam option. Relentless Shadow here being a DGG exclusive card. It's a nice little cantrip, refreshes itself every turn. It's a tiny effect, but it's really good. Kind of smooths your turns. Got a Golem Metallurgist placed right into the fray, which allows this Dream Shaper to draw 2. Konum Ka has made an appearance. It'll beat a while before that can be summoned, though. So I've got a pretty nice looking board. And I've got the Chakram in hand now, which turns my board into just beaters. I can't play it until next turn. But this turn I've got Furiosa, BBS just came off cooldown. Now might actually be the only turn I get to use it if this 5th Kopiuyt comes down immediately. Furiosa. Playing this Wraithling in the back row, so I have a nice Chakram with it, and it's kind of annoying to clear. And now I have to size up clearing the board versus keeping my guys alive. 3-3 into the 2-3 is a good exchange. But this Portal Guardian's kind of a threat. I actually don't have lethal on this Portal Guardian. So it's just gonna get a big frenzy off. So, not letting it get a freebie, at least cash in that. Better play that turn might have been fading away from the Portal Guardian, not hitting it at all, because I just threw a Wraithling into it for no reason. Agent Cypher with 5 cards that cost 5. And it is the 5 mana turn. So could potentially Blood of Air my Furiosa, because I'm absolutely going to be spamming my BBS. But 5th Kopiuyt kind of shuts that down too, but is more susceptible to removal and then be doing it again anyway, so just blows up my buffer. It's a 5 mana spell to kill a 1 mana minion, but you gotta do it. So my Chakram turn is up, but it doesn't look like anything. I can trade all my minions. So instead, we're going to go for the Lady Lock route. But I don't have a lot for that. I can only play a single minion. Maybe it's finally time to replace Relentless Shadow? It's hard to replace this card because it doesn't have the problem most cards have of costing a card. Crypto's the swap, and we get Wraithling Swarm, which is actually a really sick next turn. So I go ahead with the Chakram. So Condom Ka is pretty good at taking out Chakram plays. But I don't really have a board right now, so it doesn't actually do much. So the play here might just be 5th Canopic, because my BBS is coming online next turn. Here's a 4/8. The 2/2 in front of it. This Bloodbound Mentor definitely got a lot weaker now that this thing is out. So it's likely the swap here. With the lock and the Wraithling Swarm, I can make 3 2/2 Wraithlings with Provoke. Except they're going to be 4/2s with Frenzy. Oh, Demonic Lure is a really good way to deal with these things. Lady Lock in the face. Making it hard to place anything. And then I take a diagonal step down and right. It's the same overall distance. It's just kind of mixing up the positioning. Makes my BBS more consistent because there's less tiles for things to spawn on. Agent Cypher 19 fortunately has 1 tile available to drop a unit. It would have been a painful start to the turn otherwise. Then again, this Iron Dervish is likely going in. Which does not leave Ka many respawns. But it's definitely still the best play, because look at this. And then the Canopic and Star Strider can clear these two, and Ka gets away. I do have an EMP in hand. It'll destroy my artifact, but it shuts down the shenanigans, which is a big ask. See ya, Ka. So there are no other respawns for Ka. I can grab it in with this lure. So EMP is not needed. Funnily enough, Relentless Shadow here does a pretty good impression of my BBS. I can make 2 Wraithlings every turn. Big difference is I can choose where they spawn. So how about in your face? And then I take 2 steps to the right. This is to make my BBS more consistent, I'm thinking. But I realize as soon as I do this that I'm actually in striking range of his general now. If this Wraithling is cleared like from a Blood Tier Alchemist, then he could just come down and start working on my Chakram. too used to playing the Argyon style where you play rush down towards your opponent and slash them up with your artifacts. The Chakram, you definitely want to fade away. But if I can get a couple of these Wraithlings to connect, the game is done, and this 5th Kopiuyt is so low. The Sand Swirl generation's pretty incredible for when you've got the Ka. Because just summoning the Ka generates it. And just like that, I'm surrounded by minions. This was an easily avoidable problem. If I just didn't take 2 steps to the right last turn. It's my attempts to evac and make a wall. As long as I can prevent 3 connections, I can keep my artifact. Got a Ritual Banishing to work with. Which this Kopiuyt is asking for it. And I am 1 mana short of being able to BBS and Bloodbound Mentor. Got a little shield of 3 Wraithlings. Agent Cypher could drop down the Trigon Obelisk to give Ka as many lives as he wants. Not sticking around with the Dervishes, just gonna move them in. Because this opens up a space for the Sand Swirl and the Azure Herald to get a hit. And a Blood Tier Alchemist for the 3rd hit, so my artifact is just gone. So if I lose due to my units not having +2 in Frenzy, I know why. And there it is, Infinity Dervishes. It's not placed in the corner because it's more likely to get blocked. Or have less good spawns. Because now a Dervish spawn at the bottom left of it, which it's a 3 in 4 chance of doing, is going to be able to hit me. So I can fade away and make a ton of 1/1s. Or place and find the way to make even more 1/1s. So I'm just setting up for the next Chakram. Or I've got the book. If you have a lot of units out and you pop a Grimoire, you might be able to abracadabra, I win. If I had more ability to spawn, if I used both my Relentless Shadows next to this Obelisk, I could actually block a Dervish. It's one way Swarm can fight Obelisks, is just get around them. So we got the Fire Blaze Obelisk here. Ka is in fact a Dervish, so we'll become a 4/3. Which lines up really well against what I have out. Ka gets as many free hits as it needs. And every time Ka respawns, Portal Guardian gets a +1. Ooh, this game spiraled out of control real fast. You can't make mistakes against top players. This is how you find your way to losers. Even if he does win here, it's not over. But it would be the end of the Xerix deck. I do have a ton of spam still in hand. And this Wraithling, might as well replace it. Every single card that I've been drawing for the past couple turns feels like it's all Wraithlings all the time. I may have needed to mix in a bit more removal. There's a couple 2x's and 1x's of stuff. Gonna jam the spam I can. The only way I can free up enough space is to hit that first. Lets me cast 2 more Wraithlings and then basically max. Finally, a slightly beefy unit. Kron shows up. I'm definitely getting one shot by this Portal Guardian if it connects. Maybe actually the misplay of this game was replacing the EMP, because an EMP would be incredible. Because I'm fighting with unupgraded Zerglings against a maxed out Protoss army. So I'm thinking replace Find EMP. Replace and Found Furiosa. Well, on to game 3. I'll be facing Agent Cypher's She Die deck. It's got that 1x spiral technique, so if I'm ever at 8 health, I'm actually at 0 health. And otherwise, it's just got a bunch of Arcanists. Doesn't have Kindling though, because that was one of the few ones that stuck around on the ban list. Going into game number 3. Agent Cypher 19 versus Trozz. First game of upper bracket. Here we go. Or rather, first series. My hand has some pretty poor texture to it, but I'm pretty happy to draw a Wraithling Swarm. Agent Cypher's got the Prismatic Illusionist. I'd probably put it below, or take 2 steps to the left and put it to the right. Or make a play for a Mana Tile at the diagonal. I don't think Mana Forger's a consideration. Way too early. Doesn't do a lot. So it's the replace, finds a Jux. Jux really nice with Arcanists. Free spell. Lucky for me, there's no Ghost Lightning, which is a card that absolutely bops this matchup. So no 1 damage to all. I'm just gonna come here, grab 2 mana tiles. Try to keep these defensive. And the whip to clean up the Illusionist. Kron is right on time. Could potentially drop it next turn. Agent Cypher is going to want to use this Panda technology on it. As for this turn, probably the Owl Beast Sage. It would die to a whip though, so might be considering that, and might want to drop the 4 Winds Magi instead. Scroll Bandit becomes a Chakri avatar. Got the raw Owl Beast in the back. I do have the whip to deal with it, which might be more important than the Kron. Because next turn is BBS turn, which is a ton of spell casts, so the whole any minion that comes down would be pretty much unkillable. So gotta deal with the Owl immediately. Agent Cypher. So almost in a full surround. It does have inner focus, so it can bust out of this with some cool moves. Replaces and finds a Gotatsu just in time. You can throw that at any Wraithling and then just walk right past it. And probably dropping the 4 Winds Magi. Otherwise, it's a really mana weak turn. Yeah, dropping this immediately. And keeping it safe with the Jux and the Gotatsu. Now I can't even reach it with Chakram. Really nice move. So we got the Inquisitor, we got cool hula hoops, got the Owl. Well, different kind of owl. Less of a snowy owl, more of a barn owl. Kron is turned into the Relentless Shadow, which kind of makes me want to drop this Neon Priestess here, because I can easily crash in these 3 Wraithlings and spawn 3 more. Other option is coming in with 9 damage on them with Chakram. Problem with Chakram is it immediately falls off against 4 Winds Magi, because this procs 100 turn times. It's kind of nuts. But the Blood Tide's a little harder to deal with. Especially if I put it exactly in the corner, but it can always be juxed out, so it's never really safe. Bloodbound Mentor is actually a good consideration here too, because I can BBS twice. But I opt for the Priestess. And I immediately charged my units in here. I figured it was alright to get some triggers. And now it's kind of defending itself. Agent Cypher now with 2 juxtaposes. Well, my turn again, and Priestess became a Pando. I replaced the book. Actually, the Grimoire might have been really good there. But I figure equipment again just falls off immediately. What's the point? Chakram, same deal. So the play is probably a Paramentor's. And advancing as much as I can, because this 4 wins in the back is absolute buster. And I am happy with my draw. Love me a Shadow Dancer. It's the Songhai version of this thing. So I have just a ton of units on board. My opponent with a ton of cards in hand. But funnily enough, Agent Cypher's board is a lot better than mine, given the circumstance. Because with with this much mana, we can get a lot of spell casts. If I didn't have healing, I'd be dead in 2 turns. And I might be dead in 2 turns anyway if I can't get it to proc. Coming in for a kill? Nope. Spelljammer or Mistdragon Seal is a good way to steal a game. But it's also a good way to retreat after teleporting in. We got ninja assassin techniques going on. I don't know if my slow demon army can keep up. I have 1 minion that I can send to its death. And so I can heal to 7. And no way to deal with these nasty boys in the back. Well, got the 2 connections. So I can get this thing going off twice. It's a weird dead as heck between this juxtapose. 4 Winds Magi comes in for a lethal bonk. Oh, we got Sparrowhawk to go out in style. Oh, this all came down to, I think, some blunders in the other game. Could have sealed the series 2-0. Maybe I was thinking about that too much this game and ended up getting popped in the end. But let's congratulate Agent Cypher 19, the first of 2 winners bracket or upper bracket finalists. Ooh-ya. Myself, I'll be dropping down to lower bracket. See y'all there. Grats Agent Cypher 19. I guess there is no stopping Agent Cypher from getting at least 3rd again. I guess we'll need to ping Miyuko. See if she's got another cool sprite that she can make for that. That'd be something. Let's jump into game number 2. Series number 2, that is. We've got Mushymango versus Kopiuyt. On the other side of the upper bracket, 2 Vanars and 2 Vitruvians. Pretty nice spread. They've got different opinions on generals. Seems excellent. A lot of artifacts coming out of Mushymango in both of the lists. We've got the combo with Elena to clear a whole board. And Mushymango just has 1x of monolithic vision for some funsies in late game. Kopiuyt's got a big variety on this Fey list, a lot of 1x's. We got the Avalanche, so watch out. I don't see the Rolling Snowstorm though, so we'll have to see what all else can come out. And we've got the Xerix, another Xerix list. This one's running Pantherin. So gonna be wishing for some good plays. Going into series number 2, game 1. Mushymango versus Kopiuyt. Immediately with the Pantherin in hand, definitely not what you want in your opening hand. But the idea is it's eventually a free mana. You just drop this 0 mana 8/8. Interesting keeps it, or immediately redraws into it. Yeah, there's the replace. Player 1's turn can actually fully finish before player 2's even decided on mollies. It's pretty nice. It does eat into your time though, but it's turn 1, so that's fine. Mushymango with the Healing Mystic. Opener as old as time. Here's a Fire Blaze off to the side. Really high chance of good spawns. It can't get hit by anything this turn, so really nice placement. Mushymango has the power to steal copies of enemies. That Sag destroys. No opportunities for that now, but this is a really nasty tech. Could potentially drop a Diltis, but Diltis gets kind of torn up by these obelisk 3/2s. Dropping it anyway, because with a +1 it's at a dervish range. Kopiuyt's probably looking for a place to drop the Spelljammer, or how to deal with this Dio. A First Wish on the Wind Dervish does it, but then there's a Tombstone. Choosing to replace first. Unsure about the First Wish? I would think that you would play a card draw spell first. And the Spelljammer on the mana tile. Excellent stuff. Gonna get to work on it right away. Mushymango's got a copy of Lost in the Desert in hand. So if any time Kopiuyt's formation falls apart, this is a really good finisher. It's not great now though, so it's gonna just sit in hand for a bit. This is a dead as heck turn for Mushymango. Best option seems to be stealing the Spelljammer with a Bloodseer Alchemist, a Thunderclap. Doesn't have enough mana actually for the full combo to do it. So instead, just gonna chip at the Obelisk. And this formation protects the Tombstone against Dervishes, mostly. Single ping for the Spelljammer, so it's easier to clean up later. Dervish spawn is decent, so it could be Dervish. The Tombstone doesn't kill and clear the Dervish though, so the Spelljammer can't finish it. Replaces a Duskweaver, finds a Warlock. Warlock pretty good in this matchup to chip away these nasty artifacts. Does some more SimCity. I would think Kopiuyt would want to drop the Duskweaver next. Nah, gonna keep it. Might as well, because there's 2 cards being drawn this turn, so out it goes. If this thing dies, a random wish appears. Not choosing to replace Lost in the Desert. Mushymango's really looking this. Able to get a copy of his own Obelisk with Thunderclap, keeping it at full durability in the process. And the Astral Crusader has appeared after 1 round of meditation. But we've seen that's usually not good enough for Mushymango, who throws it back. Star's Fury is pretty terrible. You can only proc twice. Rasha's Curse is perfect. Takes out the nasty artifact. But now there's this Obelisk to deal with. So everything is going into it. Kopiuyt coming out a little ahead in the exchange. The Crusader indeed replaced for the 2nd time, so those are really good draws going forward. Doesn't have a great defensive play. Gonna be able to do some chip damage on this Obelisk and drop a Nimbus to generate some more Obelisks. Unfortunately though, for Mushymango, Blood of Air shows up and has a 2nd copy as well, so Kopiuyt's gonna be protected against these things. Opting for the Temple play, which also kills it. Stance Roll Reader on something when their owner has 6 cards in hand. It's the cleanest way of getting rid of it. And that sets Mushymango back a mile. EMP is finally playable, but it's only one thing. Lost in the Desert never came up. EMP immediately kills the Dervish. Turns off the obelisk. And with the final Raj's Curse, Kopiuyt indeed does have lethal Mushymango falling in the first game. So that's the player that switches the banner now. Mushymango onto the Alina plan. Unfortunate matchup having all the artifacts against some of the best anti-artifact tech around. We can see if it's actually really good anti-swarm though. So against even a fault player, you can chop your way through. The trick is to not play your artifacts willy-nilly. You really got to find a good moment to equip them. Going into game number 2 of Mushymango vs Kopiuyt. Kopiuyt is currently up 1-0. Kopiuyt in hand with another DGG exclusive. We got the Ice Blade Binder to do a little bit of movement, slow reduction. Muko designed the sprite. Pretty nice. One of the few sprites that doesn't have a eye pixel. But maybe we'll put a pixel in, because we can see Drake Dowager here, also not with that. And Mesmerize here, you might not recognize it if you don't play it around it much or haven't seen it much, but it will reduce movement speed for a turn after it's used. We got Avalanche, all sorts of one-ofs, Gatekeeper, all sorts of new cards. This card being the one elf. So responding to the Azure Herald opener, we've got a Hydrogarm placed up in kind of a way, so it can't just be hit. I think there's also one of each Sentinel, so it's an absolute guessing game. The correct play is usually play Gatekeeper all the time, every time, because a 3-mana 4/7 is just so good. It's just a wall of stats. It's really mana inefficient, and mana has already been taken down here. Could this be a Spelljammer turn? Just jam the Spelljammer. Seems good. Finds the second Gatekeeper. Very nice. You can put them on different columns. And get a nice round with them, or a flank. Mushymango's got one piece of the combo. Immediately drops it. And next turn, this Hydrogarm can activate, so this is something to play around. I wasn't expecting the Gatekeeper to be replaced, but it doesn't really lend itself to being played. At least not in this turn, where it's so much mana. this turn is probably attacking Alina and then using the BBS to just get rid of the artifact and then take your pick of 3-drops. Ice Blade Binder. Just staring down this Hydrogarm so it can't really run away. Mushymango's got a bunch of stuff. Rustcrawler. It's going to be the replace next turn most likely. Too tiny to tempo out. These Bone Shell barriers are really annoying because they stun even generals. Going for the stun lock option. Hydrogarm pretty good at protecting itself. So fading to the mana tile opens up a 9-mana turn, so 2 3-drops it is. Tricky one in the back, tanky one in the front. The trick of this Sentinel is as soon as Alina attacks, it wakes up and turns into a Drake Chucker. We do in fact have Rolling Snowstorm in this list, which is incredible when you can start duplicating it. Or at least it's very funny. And it works really well with the stun plan and the movement reduction. So Mushymango has narrowed down what kind of... Uh-oh. Then we're going to immediately silence this thing. So it's a Dowager diffused. Freeblade could show up to just be another tank. So Rolling Snowstorm would be annoying immediately because it shows up on Hydrogarm's turf. This whole right column turns into a blizzard. I don't know if it fits into this turn though. Maybe it does because the Freeblade just got swapped out. And there's 2 Mesmerizes here to keep stuff in the cold. And there it is. Boom. The snowstorm is rolling. At the start of Kopiuyt's next 9 turns, 4 damage is going to happen in the snow zone. But it doesn't have friendly fire, so you can just stand in it. Gotta cheer for Kopiuyt now, the spell is awesome. It's very silly, but it could be incredible. Let's have a look. We have Thunderhorn here, speaking of incredible. It does need some time to set up. And would be immediately picked off by this Gatekeeper. It's funny, the diagonal step immediately puts you in range of it. Gotta leave the blizzard. You just can't stay in there. Otherwise, it's just death. Yeah, gotta step away. Ice Shatter Gauntlet, immediately taking down the nasty Gatekeeper. But Phase Artillery is a huge problem because we got a Mentor in the back to duplicate it. So Mango's gonna have to drop a something. Probably a Hearth Sister, swap it in. Hearth Sister, an incredible setup for Thunderhorn. Build your own links. So the Blizzard has advanced. It didn't get any hits. Mushymango regrets his positioning. Yeah, it's tricky playing around Fae. You always gotta watch out for dropping stuff above and below you whenever this is about to cool down. If it's grayed out and it has a 2 above it, then you don't need to play around it. But if it looks like this, you gotta play around it. And it's just gonna refresh every turn now. And it's also 2 per turn, so Mushymango looks like 1 more turn left. Has a dragon. We're as dragony as it gets for Duelist. For more realistic plays, it could drop an Icy, stun something, do a bunch of damage around it with Aspect. Can stall turns out with Concealing Shroud, which looks a lot more important. But going for the board clear is really nice. Kopiuyt cannot believe his eyes. I see right back at you. I see one of the few things that can stun a general, so now we see Kopiuyt's just stuck in the Blizzard and is gonna get bonked for 4 damage. But is pretty okay with that, considering Mushymango's at 1. With no board. It's only board. It's a Concealing Shroud. Good way to avoid the Blizzard. Right, in the Vanner Mirror, it could be confusing to keep track of which Blizzard is which, but it starts on your opponent's side and then moves towards your side. So we'll see Kopiuyt in fact not take any damage. And does have another Rolling Snowstorm to get another wave in. Doesn't need it though, just needs EMP to dispel this invincibility. It might not look like Mushymango is gonna live, but Mushymango cannot be killed. So here's a cool Drake. And Mesmerize also works on enemy generals. So Mushymango can only move 1 square. Is able to crystallize the pet to survive a little longer, but doesn't have an out to the nuke from afar. But look at this, with Resonance Scythe, whoops, you needed the sword to survive. And with that, Kopiuyt takes the series 2-1, or 2-0. So Kopiuyt's going to be advancing and going to be facing Agent Cypher in the upper bracket finals. Congratulations! And this is still the upper bracket, so Mushymango going to be knocked down to lower bracket. Going to be facing the winner of Game 4. And I'll be facing the winner of Game 3. Let's get into that right now. It's these guys. We've got Colexiel with the 1 list, 2 generals. And Fuzzymoth. Colexiel here's got Sirocco on this list, so we're going to be seeing a lot of 3-2s. And Fuzzymoth here, not content with 1 monolithic vision, has to have 2. And 3x Stars Fury, so you have to play around that at all times. And as for the Riva deck, this is actually one that we pulled from a site that had named it the Baconator. Pretty funny name for a deck, but the idea is you drop the Tuskboar, you buff it up, you duplicate it, now you have a bunch of gigantic hastes running around. And then it's the Chakra Avatar that usually closes things out. Or at least carries most of the damage for the pig to close it out, we'll see. Didn't actually see it in the previous series though, so we are jumping into series number 3, game number 1, Colexiel vs Fuzzymoth. This one's for all the bananas. Game 1, we're starting off with a Sif Ditto. Colexiel likes locking things down with these Golem Vanquishers, especially when there's an Aegis Golem out to do the trick, where you have an incredible setup. We have the Mana Tile generation, pretty nice placement. This is a lot less likely to be taken by the opponent compared to dropping the Mana Tile 1 step in front of your general from here. Which is kind of a matchup-specific play, or just looking to grab it way later. Because the Shroud to turn off the Fireblaze Obelisk is really good counter to this opener. Fuzzymoth has no way to deal with that. And Wild Tars here. So Fuzzymoth has a pretty funny simulacra here. It's the obelisk that builds more obelisks. It would kind of get torn apart by the Wild Tar though, so Sand Howler comes out instead. Colexiel's not going to care about the downside though. Because this thing has Veil. Has leftover mana for the Golem Metallurgist. The E-Shroud immediately ring into the Sand Howler. And then a General taking a slash at the Metallurgist, so now they're both damaged. Because we have the Pig coming in. Clears everything and can now go anywhere. So there's no safe place to be. This thing needs to be dealt with, like, with Blood of Air specifically. Fuzzymoth is gonna have to find maybe a Sand Swirl Reader. Next turn, maybe the Stars Fury can get there. There's almost no place to drop the Celebrant that's any good though. So -2 on the tar to make it slightly less crazy. Alright, here's Aegis Golem, but the Provoke Golem already got shuffled away, so... not as impressive when it's only half the combo. Speaking of half the combo, we got Razor Crag here. No way to turn it online though, because the flying was handed off to this Tar. Just gonna snatch any mana it wants. I would have expected Dissension to be cast first. Are you spending all your mana somehow? Razor Crag in the back, not using Dissension at all. Whoops. Gonna save 2 damage on himself in a unit. Because when it has a 1 above it, it's gonna cool down immediately, so you might as well use it if you can. So Fuzzymoth can Star's Fury for 3. This Obelisk is actually turning off one of them. So pretty good positioning from Colexiel to play around that. Dropping the 0-10. 2 turns, it'll turn into something real. Both players with Aegis Golems, love to see it. They either are impervious to each other or trade with each other. So it turns out to be Colexiel who finds the Blood of Air first. Has the removal and the bombs. This building's a liability because we're gonna see damage get cheated essentially. You can opt out of damage as long as you're frenzying into it. So better Aegis Golem placement would have been 1 to the right, because then it would have been immune to that hit. And now the Aegis Golem is stuck. This Vanquisher is pretty intimidating. Fuzzymoth could really go for an EMP right now. But again, it's Colexiel that finds it first. Sirocco is powered up for 4, which is a little too late. Even if it gets +1 from the Celebrant. So going for the more consistent threat of just spawning 2 2/2s, which might not have been worth the mana. And also could have generated another one, having stepped away from the pig. Choosing to attack at all while this thing is out is usually a mistake. Because unless you can do all the damage to it, you have to ignore it and not fight. Attacking it only makes it more powerful. This nasty battle board can come in for a giant chunk of life. It goes so fast with flying. That looks funny. It just zips over and massacres Fuzzymoth's board. Fuzzymoth does have the monolithic vision. So if 2 turns go by, who knows? But it's like 1 or 2 turns too slow. Yeah, if it could be cast now, it'd be great, but... oh, this turn is just a Sirocco turn. It's an Aegis Golem turn. It's a it's a not a bad board. Colexiel's got the option of dropping a Sirocco to counter the Sirocco. Pretty nice frenzy there. This wild tar has done so much value. But there were no opportunities to kill it because it immediately got astral phasing. Creeping in with the 10-3. Fuzzymoth down to one final golem. And one hope with this monolithic vision. Okay, it's time. Fuzzymoth has 9 mana. Has no strikes, has Sound Howler. Here's Zephyr. The Winds. Whisper of the Sands. Doesn't do anything. Lava Storm. These are all a little too. There's a little bit of synergy here between this Falchius and the Zephyr. Not having mana to do the BBS is a little unfortunate. Fuzzymoth looking for some way to get an extra turn so this Cyrix can come down. And it's gonna be just a wall of dudes. Plus a free slash. And this Wild Tar has to be dead. It's just necessary. Step forward. And then if you attack diagonally, your golem will be just fine. But opting to use the golem to poke at this Razorcrag golem. So Aegis destroying this golem for free. 3-1 beating a 10-3. It's like it had first strike. And the Sand Howler and the Zephyr. So cool monolithic turn. Almost everything was playable. Is it enough to stabilize, though? And can the second monolithic be drawn? Fuzzymoth's loving it. Colexiel doesn't quite have lethal. Wait a minute. This looks like lethal, never mind. Yeah, and with that, Colexiel has won over Fuzzymoth 2-0. Colexiel's moving on. Congrats, Fuzzymoth has been eliminated. One deck stronger than two deck, somehow. Well, I guess it was kind of the one deck versus one deck. We haven't seen the Baconator of the series. Unfortunate. I think the Baconator might have done some good, but it's a really weird deck to play, so you kind of need practice on it. So, can see why he'd bust out the tried and tested. Next up, and our last series for the night, it is Indubitablement the Face. Here again versus Kenny. Kenny with the same strat. Doesn't have the Siroccos, but definitely has the one list for two. No EMPs, but We'll see how that goes. Watch out for the Starhorn deck, which intends to cast a ton of expensive stuff with Evolutionary Apex. And the Kara deck is pretty huge, mostly Arcanists, a lot of spells. Going into the face! AKA Indubitablement, AKA O____O. Which I guess could spell like Ortho or something. I don't know. Jumping into this. Got 2 to 3 games left. Kara is the selection. Turn 1 Crystal Wisp. Well played. Having 2 Cryptographers is pretty nuts with Kara too, because they like multiples. Opens with the Vanar special, Wisp in your face, and Wells in every place. Best play for Kenny is probably Diagonal Step, Portal Guardian to make a play for the bottom mana, and not attacking the Wisp. Goes for the corner positioning with the Portal Guardian to defend, which actually is incredible because it denies the Crystal Wisp from clashing. Indubitablement could really use this extra mana. Probably gonna settle for dropping a raw Hydrogarm or a Bloodbound Mentor in the back. This Wisp should take 1 step down, maybe 2. Yeah, 1 step down, it's a lot harder to get away from. So next turn, it's almost sure to get a trade. But Kenny could make that really awkward with a Thunderhorn being out. Dropping a T-Horn is probably better than Windstrikering or Portal Guardianing. Well, it's a tough choice. Thunderhorn's pretty good. Maybe it was pondering which card to replace. Ends up replacing the Mentor, finds the Stream Shaper, which doesn't do anything right now. Thunderhorn would one-shot all these Gravity Wells pretty cleanly. And it could potentially be put somewhere where it could even threaten this Mentor. Like a diagonal... Nah, that wouldn't work. Well, yeah, maybe 2 steps up or diagonal step with the Portal Guardian. Kenny waiting it till the last second. Okay, actually clears the Wisp to go for the Mana Tile to drop the Thunderhorn there instead. Yeah, this is pretty sick placement for the Thunderhorn, and Indubitablement was probably going to go for that mana anyway, so giving him the mana with the Mana Wisp is not a big deal. So Thunderhorn's probably going to take one step up, get rid of all these. So this Bloodbound Mentor needs to take 2 steps to the right, specifically to get away from that. Any other movement, it gets fragged. Cloud Caller here makes a nuke that would take care of Thunderhorn, but the nuking spell costs a mana. So it's not the play. Circulus seems good. Hydrogram seems really good. Yeah, let's go with really good. Anything to keep this Portal Guardian from doing stuff. And is this T-Horn really going to waste its turn going to the center of the map? Or is it going to just push forward? Kenny probably going to replace the Azure Herald to see if another Golem can be found to keep the hand size juiced. Problem with running low on cards in the late game is you start running out of stuff you want to replace. So you start looking for high impact cards like Nimbus. So this thing's like a fine thing to slam him right here. Chromatic Cold showing up just in time. But T-Horn is here, and there are 2 targets that kind of demand a silence. So you would generally silence the higher mana value unit, but T-Horn is kind of a messed up unit in that even if this Hydrogarm came down to hit, and then Kara came in to hit, this Thunderhorn would get 2 licks of Chain Lightning in, 8 damage to the face. It's even worse than the Nimbus. So maybe Thunderhorn gets silenced and Nimbus gets ignored. We do have Cloud Calling options. What is going on? I just described this play as being bad. So, okay, well, not going to actually do the final point of damage with the general here. Hydrogarm is just here for the stun effect. This Cryptographer here can refresh the Kinetic Surge. Playing these from your bar does not trigger the Blood Surge, but is going to have access to it next turn, so this Thunderhorn is effectively chain stunned. So Kenny has his choice of Swarm King Scarab or a pair of Portal Guardians. Portal Guardians are good if you suspect your opponent has a bunch of removal in hand to try to bait out the silences and all that. And then Swarm King here can just close out a game immediately. Amara is really good when players are at low health totals and low cards in hand. Best play here for Kenny seems to be putting the Swarm King Scarab anywhere, because that thing is pretty much undeal withable. Between the Gravity Well and all these Connect searches, could potentially drop 4, provoke 3 4s. It's a ton of stats. So, Swarm King Scarab is kind of an all-purpose buster. If you just need some kind of way to close out a game, you can toss a couple in your deck. If your deck has really good sustain or good late game, you can usually get to this. Doesn't need any synergy or combos to work, it just needs a little bit of space and one turn. Because it immediately fills the whole screen with bugs and the game just ends immediately. Has turn after turn of Cloud Caller, but this Water Ball does not do enough damage to just kill the Scarab. And this Hydrogarm can't get in range to stun it, because Nimbus is blocking it. Waterballing this thing anyway, because the Mentor in the back for 3. Right, yeah. Really good place to hide that for a while, because that's exact 7 damage. With the Water Ball on the unit, able to take care of that. Has this pretty chunky 5/6 left over. A pretty weird looking hand, because the Mentor even handed off another copy of this Water Ball. Kenny might even consider dropping a Blood of Error on this Cloud Caller. It's not in range of anything though, so it's not a nuisance like this Hydrogarm is. Could try Tomorrow Healer. It's kind of a check to see if your opponent has removal or silence, but is way riskier, so just goes for the safe play. Prismatic Illusionist here could generate a lot of units. It can do a pretty good impression of a Bloodtide Priestess. So Water Ball definitely needs to be used on Thunderhorn. It is just too nasty. Opting to not use any of these Cadet Surges on this Cloud Caller, it's big enough. And they'll be real nice with this Illusionist, where it just keeps spawning up bigger and bigger things. So pretty good plan in hand from the face. Kenny's got a powerful action bar as well, but it's going to be tricky to empty. Because you don't want to cast this Herald, you don't want to cast this Dream Shaper. You don't want to cast one thing. But casting 2 early game things isn't much better, but might be the play. Just get a couple Guardians. Blood of Air solves a lot of boards. And with mana left over for the Portal Guardian, real nice. Kenny's board is looking pretty unstoppable. The face has a trick though. 2 steps up, Illusionist? Or where does the Illusionist go where it doesn't immediately get completely clobbered by this Portal Guardian is the real ask. It could just be a diagonal placement. It's pretty safe. Take a diagonal step up right, put the Illusionist up left, cast 2 spells. Ooh, Firestarter. can do bigger things. Definitely liking this draw, because the flames are going to be huge. Immediately dropping a couple spells on this. Yo. These are some huge spell sparks. So 12 damage rush. Make that 15 damage rush. No, 20 damage rush. Wait, this is almost lethal if all of them could connect, but they can't all connect. So might as well just go for the nasties. And they stick around. So Kenny went from dominable position to, oops, he's dead. Like, it doesn't matter how good his hand is when this thing is continuously spitting out these things. Well, to be fair, the next set is just going to be 3 threes. It's only going to make 3 threes after. This is the power of late game Arcanist Kara. Yeah, don't cut your Bloodbound Mentors or your Fire Starters from this deck. This Portal Guardian is still huge, but one of these flames might clean it up. Assuming it's not just going to go face immediately. The Amara Healer is going to do some work to stabilize, and the Azure Herald is actually good now. Everything else looks too slow. Problem is, even dropping the healer is just dead on board. Needed to get a really good spawn for this Iron Dervish, but it's in the back. Well, healer and Herald. But with a lesser water ball in hand, Cryptographer here, as many kinetic surges as he wants. It looks like Indubital Mint here is going to be snatching game number 1. Maybe not though. A water ball on this thing. Yeah, because the Spell Spark is over here now. Could this be an extra turn? Yeah, it is. No, wait. Oh yeah, that's just almost lethal. Oof, go to 2. Kenny, what have we got? Nimbuses into Nimbuses. Alright, we'll go game. But the face. Terror of the ladder. Getting a win. Excellent stuff here. Taking Kenny down 1-0 so far. It's not over yet though. Kenny could be potentially balancing back with his other Vitruvian deck. It has 1 card different. Because he had to have different generals. Alright, we are in game number 2, a 1-0 advantage for O_O. And is now trying to close out the series with this silly Apex deck. It's gonna be real once he's at 7 mana though, so keep your eyes out for this. Kenny with a strong start. Might not have been as strong a start as Celebrant though, had that been the option. And a 0-10 right in the middle, just to be extra annoying. This is where player 1 wants to put their general most of the time. Definitely not worth chipping away at. With a Dream Shaper, a lot is possible. It could also be possible to just get the Thunderhorn out immediately. Because Thunderhorn likes buildings just fine. Kenny's got to know he's on a time limit, though. Grabbing the Celebrant, grabbing the Thunderhorn. Posturing to destroy this building next turn. Doodlemit's just smoothing over this hand until the turn comes. Probably going to fade away, just run. And then use Rebuke to clear the board. Yeah. Can't have a Thunderhorn running around. Has all the power in the world at 7, but is now out of plays, so this is Kenny's time to catch up on the board. And Dream Shaper Metallurgist is a good way to do that. So the idea is you take the Mana Spring, you drop the Metallurgist, you drop the Dream Shaper, which draws a Aegis Golem that then you immediately play. Well, that'd be cheating mana, I guess. This only has a 1 discount and Aegis costs 3. So a 2-drop Golem, like another Metallurgist, would be good. Definitely don't want to be on this side of the building, though. Possibly is considering Sand Swirl? No. Time for some card draw. Ooh, get some Metallurgists. Lucky. That can be played immediately. Keeping it in hand. Absolutely nasty turn building up here for our Magmar player. It feels like Kenny's got 2 turns to get in there and get us around. Because the trick to playing against a Magmar player is to not give them empty spaces. The other way is to have every Blood of Air, of which Kenny's got the 1, but... Two Krygons coming out at the same time might be too much to ever deal with. We got a 10-10 building in the back. It's not going to be out until it's Apex time, though. Wind Striker, maybe some card draw with Dream Shaper. It is possible to drop a Celebrant and decline the opening Gambit, so you don't have to drop the Mana Spring. You almost never see an opening Gambit declined. But I think Poncho Mango declined it once, so it's gotta be a good move. I'm a charging my laser, pass. And next turn is definitely I'm a firing my laser. And then that turns into the shoop de whoop with these Grail Masters learning every keyword. So Kenny needs an absolute full surround and needs minions with at least 3 health, so they can't be cleared easily. This is it. This is the 11th hour. This Apex cannot go off. It would stop Kenny's run in its tracks. Because Blood of Air is pretty impressive removal, but it's not like Lionheart levels of impressive removal. Kenny is definitely taking his time with this turn, because this is the most important turn. Needs to get serious beef out. It's actually kind of hard to keep this general in place with this building here that's going to be turning into a minion. And the building is too durable to just break. Like, Swarm King Scarab actually might... Filling the whole screen with bugs might not be good enough. Which is kind of crazy to say. But with this movement, maybe this is where the Swarm King's getting dropped. Because if he doesn't have Apex, then he just falls over dead. But Kenny's got to play to the namesake of the deck, and is doing the best full round. No, it's Swarm King in the back. Ooh, I don't agree with attacking here, because you really need your units to not be able to be cleared for a free slot. But it actually doesn't matter, because Indubitably has as much space as he wants. So we have Juggernaut, Grandmaster Krygon, 2 Grail Masters. But Kenny's also getting some stuff. Currently has 2 slots to drop units. 2 slots to Indubitable's 5 though. Boom, there it is. Every unit is out. Every keyword is known. Every chance that Kenny had to clutch this one out probably just went down the drain. People thought trials were bad. This is definitely a surround or die kind of deck. So with ranged and celerity on these Grail Masters, they can just artillery down something instantly. So they have to be the target for another turn, but even if Kenny gets perfect draws, I don't think there's a way out. But there's a Swarm King Scarab, there's gotta be a way out. This thing turns all kinds of games. Just take out both Grail Masters, right? The Scarab actually is gonna chunk through these Grail Masters' health pretty quickly. Okay, maybe this whole board can be dealt with. Because 5 damage here and here, the Dervish can't actually pop this force field. Nothing can. Ooh, a flying unit can. Okay, we're good. So 2 damage on the Krygon. The golems need to get out of the way so extra bugs can spawn. They're probably just gonna crash into the Grill Master. Yeah, and then this one takes a diagonal step to get out of the way. Turn time is going to be an issue because you have to micro a ton of bugs and they animate very slowly. Kenny, are you going to have the time to click? There's a lot of important clicks to happen here. They gotta happen. This Krygon needs to go down. This Grailmaster could go down. And with a Swarm King Scarab in the back, it looks like a runaway victory. Queue up these bugs. So what looked like an unstoppable lead just from one spell now looks much more manageable with only 2 units out for Magmar. And no way to deal with a Swarm King Scarab in the back. Wait a minute. Kenny is awfully close to this Juggernaut. Gonna get bonked for a ton of damage. Doodlemit replaces, finds a Gigaloth, has the option for a card draw with this BBS. I guess is just gonna fight a Locust Plague. Yeah, there might have been a lethal puzzle in here. Because this Portal Guardian gets like +7 a turn at least. Couple tiny golem eggs popping off this Juggernaut, nothing crazy. But the insect artillery looks like it should be enough. Doodlemit definitely advancing pretty quickly, trying to get close to this thing to do that last point of damage. But you don't come back from Swarm King, right? Got the Dream Shapers for the refill. Kenny looks to be doing pretty great, but is low on health. Needs to fade. Get rid of this. Get rid of something, I don't know. This Juggernaut, can it even be dealt with? It probably just needs to be blasted and all bugs that way. Well, Portal Guardian can chunk its health by a huge amount to start. And maybe we should just take one step forward with it. Or the diagonal step, take out this Biometric Hulk. But I have a feeling that Kenny needs to have already decided and start clicking around, because so many units. Goes for the right step. So not gonna use Frenzy to take out the Hulk. Has the Thunderhorn placed pretty close. Well, we got the... Yeah, the Scarabites can unfudge this situation pretty well. Just take out this Golem, take out all its eggs. And this Scarab in the back is... Uh-oh, I was gonna say it's completely safe, but the one piece of removal has been drawn. Homeostatic Rebuke is here to flip the table again. And it's definitely an incredible play. The one minion that would survive it gets cleared. Homeostatic Rebuke. Wow. Multiple turns of Swarm King Scarab. Doodlemit still fighting back. Last minion is at least a card drawing one. But seems to be just dead on board again with some strong answer to this Gigaloth here in the form of Blood of Air. As tempting as the Scarab is, it can't be played this turn. Dropping the Portal Guardian first to get a +1 from the Blood of Air. Has the Silence First Wish. Probably going to drop it on the Celebrant. Taking a step forward, looking to just close the game. I would think with a Blast Minion you'd want to Fade. Grandmaster Krygon is here, your general has Frenzy? And a bunch of other nasty keywords. Oh, speaking of Frenzy. So here's the choice. Got a War Beast, got a Krygon. Krygon seems a lot nastier. But that movement... I would have expected putting Krygon in the corner and taking a step right to defend it. Instead, it is Krygon, pretty close. Here's the Power of Frenzy. And another Answer or Die threat has appeared. The Scarab might be able to deal with it again. But there's a real problem. Starhorn here has +7 and is in melee range of Xerix. So a Blood of Air needs to be found right now, and an Amara Healer was found instead. Uh-oh. Kenny in a pickle. This game has flipped so many times. So Amara Healer is usually incredible, but the Dying Wish can just be deflected by a force field. The sad thing for Kenny is this +7 is actually lethal because 9 damage plus this one up here. So the healer needs to be dropped just for provoking and healing. Which isn't forward progress. Like the Swarm King Scarab is forward progress, but dropping it loses the game. And already did the replace for the turn, has at least a card to draw with. Silence First Wish. Now you have the second wish. Silence Second Wish actually kind of good in this situation to make a defender against Starhorn. This turn is way too hard though. It's taking all the time. And just dead to Frenzy. Good game. Oh, going for the kill on Krygon! Actually has 7 with the summons and the artifacts, but is dead to the counterattack. Oh, good effort, Kenny. That game was great. But with that, Indubitablement has closed it 2-0. So advancing on to the lower bracket next round, we're going to have Indubitablement versus Colexiel. And whoever wins that is going to be facing... no wait, we're actually going to have some upper brackets come down to face us. Yeah, well, we'll see all that in the bracket once I punch it out into challenge. Congratulations again to our upper bracket placers. We've got Agent Cypher and Kopiuyt up there. And we will be catching you guys with round 3 in about a week. See y'all. Have a good one.